Hi, and welcome to the AnyRPG 0.9 Alpha release livestream. In this version of AnyRPG Engine, the goal was to ensure that we had a platform that had all of the assets that you need in the engine in order to make a complete game without having to go out and download a bunch of stuff like you would have previously had to in the past. It includes 24 new music tracks, 156 spell effects, 1157 building kit prefabs, about 20 different fighting from zombie and weapon animations, 24 animated characters, and a whole pile of other different props and weapons and such. Usually I would do the credits at the beginning of this video, but there's so many of them that we'll end up doing them at the end of the video instead. We're just going to jump straight into a playthrough. If you don't already have a copy of AnyRPG, you can pick it up from anyrpg.org/downloads in both Unity package and source code format. This version of AnyRPG Engine 0.9 Alpha requires Unity 2019.4.12 F1, which at the time of this video is the latest LTS. Let's jump into the playthrough then. There's a lot of new content in here, and it's going to look pretty much brand new even if you've watched the last video that was released. We're going to make sure that we've got it installed. We have the correct version of Unity, and we'll go to the example load game manager and press play. So the first thing that you'll probably notice is that there's now some background music playing, and this background music is one of the new tracks, and it plays on a loop while you're on the menu. The credits list has been significantly expanded, and if you click on a credit, you can either go directly to the download page for the credit here. As you can see, it just took me right to the song for it. Or you can click on the name and it'll take you to that person's profile on whatever site. All of the assets that are included in the engine are public domain assets from opengameart.org and also from BlendSwap. And there is an amazing song in the engine called Odo's River Flows, which is specially made by Gabriel Carranza, and that is also available on YouTube. It doesn't have a lot of views right now. I would highly recommend listening to it, and we'll actually get to listen to this song as we go through the Sun Temple level. It is just a beautiful song. All right, let's continue on with a demonstration of the engine. We'll start with a new game. So you can see a whole pile of new features here. First, there's an amazing skybox, and second, these walls are part of the Labyrinth kit, and our lost soul is now actually kind of partially see-through. He's not a ball anymore, and he's a humanoid animated see-through character. We can also hear the new soundtrack for the Soul Forge in the background, and if we look at these souls here, they're also no longer blue balls. They're a sort of energy spark inside of, it's kind of hard to see because they're moving so fast, but it's a new force field, and it's got clouds sort of rotating around them. The Guardian of Souls is very much now an actual Guardian of Souls, as he has a body. He's not just a soul anymore, and his body has lightning inside it, and he has this amazing sword called the Soul Sword, which also has lightning inside of it. Let's just turn down the background music for a second, and we can actually hear something else. We can hear the new footsteps. So we'll go to sound and turn down the music volume a little bit more. And I think actually we want to turn up the effect volume so that we can hear that a little better. Maybe double it. There we go. So you can hear basically as soon as every time that the character's footsteps hit the ground, he's actually got footsteps now. And carrying on and looking further through the the Soul Forge, we can see these new gazebos, which are also part of the engine, and this really cool teleporter effect, which is also part of the engine now. And our souls will basically go find a teleporter, and they'll go disappear off somewhere to be born. There we go. You can see them sort of disappearing there. Let's go ahead and start our adventure now. So we'll talk to the Guardian of Souls. And he basically tells us that he's never seen anybody come back here before, and we don't have a body, and he wants to know if we want a name. Now, I think our character should be the most powerful character in the world, so we're going to give him a name that really just says power. Necromancer. Necromancer will be the most powerful lost soul that has ever existed. And unfortunately, because we're a lost soul, Necromancer without a body isn't going to be able to do a whole lot, so he's going to have to go talk to this talking fountain over here. You can see the Fountain of Time now has a new model. It's a fountain with water in it, and it has a spell effect off the top, a fountain spell effect as well. And the Fountain of Time is telling Necromancer that he can potentially get a body and go back in time and try to prevent the destruction of his universe so that he doesn't have to be stuck here in the Soul Forge forever. The Guardian of Souls will then let us know that we can get a body at the Bodymatic at the top of the pyramid, so we'll head up towards the top of the pyramid. Going up the pyramid, you can see the pyramid is completely new, and this entire level is also completely new. And this whole level, everything that you see here, is all built with the in-game labyrinth kit. You can build some pretty neat stuff with this, for sure. There's also some new animations in here. If you notice when our character jumps, he doesn't look like he's really spazzing out in the air anymore. The animation isn't particularly smooth, but it's definitely a better jump loop than we had in the engine before. We've got a new Bodymatic up here, also using the new teleporter. And Necromancer will now be able to choose a body with a character creator. So let's give Necromancer the appearance of a real champion here. I think he deserves some short hair and a manly beard. And let's give him some nice yellow hair here. Yeah, now Necromancer definitely looks like a real hero. That's pretty good. I think I am pretty happy with Necromancer here. So we'll save this, and now we can head back down and continue our adventure. You'll see that Necromancer is wearing the new peasant's pants, which come with the engine. And those peasant's pants were included in the last version, but you know, they're still fairly new if it's been a while since you've seen this, or if you've not seen it before. Necromancer now learned the unarmed attack and has a bunch of health because he now has a body. See, souls have no health. If we click on the Guardian of the Forge here, Guardian of Souls, we can see he's got no health at all. Necromancer definitely knows Kung Fu. You can tell that by the fact he's got a fist there. So Necromancer wants to go around and punch everything, and Necromancer will save the world by punching things. But first he has to use Blessing of the Makers. And Blessing of the Makers, as you saw when we cast it, there was a little circle underneath us, and that's one of the new spell effects in the engine. Necromancer finds out that his body is bound to the Soul Forge and he can come back here anytime he wants, and now he's going to have to go talk to the Fountain of Time so that he can figure out where he's going to go back to in time to try to save the world. So let's take a look into the past through the Fountain of Time. In this cutscene that you see, everything is pretty much brand new in this release. The birch trees, the birch leaves, the grass on the ground, the flowers on the ground, all the textures on the ground, the bunnies, the terrain, all of this is brand new in this version. Nocturus sees the bunnies in the time stream and thinks, bunnies, I got this, no problem. I'm gonna go punch those bunnies and save the world. So Nocturus heads up the stairs here and finds a time crystal, which will take him back to find the bunnies. Nocturus appears back in time and sees a bunch of knights over here, and he needs to talk to them, and he asks them where the bunnies are, and they say, what bunnies? And he tells them that he has to defeat the bunnies to save the world, and he finds out that the zombies killed all the bunnies, and the knights are going to need his help killing the zombies before he can go save the world. So he's going to join their faction, the Sunsworn. He's going to make an oath to serve the priestess and bring her cheese whenever she wants. And when he joins the Sunsworn, he's going to get a bunch of abilities, including Warming Ray, Light of Revival, Blinding Ray, and Sunbath. Let's join the faction, and we can see that sparkles that just appeared. That's because we just got an achievement, and that new sound and the star explosion effect and everything, it is part of the new spell effects included in the engine, and you can see we just got the Rebel with a Cause achievement for joining a faction. So now that we have joined the faction, we can control the sun, and because our soul is now bound to the priestess, she gives us the ability to channel the sun. But first, before we can take on the zombies, we're going to need some armor. So we're sent over to Master Impassive, and Nocturus is given some options. Now, Nocturus has now seen the light because of the fact that he can control the sun, and Nocturus is going to become a channeler. He's decided that channeling the sun is maybe a little bit easier than punching things, especially things like zombie. So he'll learn Solar Radiation, Mana Pool, Solar Singe, Blast of Light, Infuse Light, as well as an increased critical strike chance through this trait, Critical Mass. Nocturus has now started on the path to become a channeler. The zombies that killed the bunnies infected them, and the bunnies have come back to life. So now we are instructed to go make ourselves some armor by killing the bunnies and skinning them, and then wearing the dead bunny skins. Nocturus doesn't really like this idea, but he's pretty cold without a shirt on, so he doesn't really have a choice but to agree. Over here we have a guy offering us a free bag. The first bag is always free with him. It kind of sounds like a trap, but we kind of need a bag because we don't have any inventory right now, so we'll open up this new chest and pull out this bag. The chest, of course, and everything that you see in the camp here is completely new in this version, including the tents, the trees, the fire. Nocturus finds out that this new body is not immune to fire. He can run into the fire and he's going to get set on fire, and now he'll burn for a while until eventually the fire goes out because, you know, he's Nocturus and flames won't engulf him forever. Over at the Apprentice Craftsman here, we're told that our fists aren't going to be good enough and we're going to have to go find a staff, so we'll head over to the table here and pick up a battle-worn staff. Everything on the table here is new, included in this version, including these custom ninja claws that you can't find anywhere else. They are specific to this engine, custom designed in Blender. Nocturus now has a staff, but he needs to equip it and go fight some bunnies and gather some ingredients to make his clothing. So we'll learn a bunch of skills and equip the battle-worn staff. Over here we're going to go pick up some flax. This flax, totally new. Bunch of plants. We'll see them in the credits afterwards, and we'll see them also throughout the level. We see a angry reanimated bunny over there. Our buff is about halfway done. Why don't we just rebuff ourselves? And now we're going to see a bunch of the new spell effects. Let's just clean up our bars a little bit because Nocturus has a lot of abilities here. So we're going to move our revival over here because we'll never use it. We'll put blinding ray right there, solar radiation, solar singe, put our AoE up there, and then infuse light right here. Alright, so we're going to save the game here and let's attack the angry reanimated bunny. First we're going to blind him, and we can see this blinding ray on him. The sun is blinding him, and when we hit him we gain some life back. We'll hit him with solar radiation and we can see this spark, and now the bunny is no longer blind, and you can see the new blood spurt animation as he's now attacking us. Let's turn that sound down a little bit there. Alright, Nocturus needs to cast... Oh, Nocturus. Okay, good. He's not going to die. He needs to cast Warming Ray on himself, and you can see the new Warming Ray animation as the sun is kind of shining down on him and warming him up. Also the new Infused Light animation, you can see that little light flash, and we also have a new spell effect whenever an animal is lootable. These little sparkly things are going to be hanging out above the animal. In the background, you can probably hear the ambient sounds maybe. Yeah, there we go. Birch Grove now has birds in the background. We don't have music in this level, but we do have birds, so it's cool. We're going to continue on our adventure here and look at these mushrooms. This mushroom has an LOD, so it gets more polygons as you get closer, and as you zoom out it turns into like this little hexagon thing over here. Nocturus needs to kill a bunch of these bunnies, so hitting the bunnies with the staff, as you can see, is only doing 5 damage, so Nocturus has learned that with his solar channeling abilities he can pretty much two-shot the bunnies, so he's going to do that. These birch trees are new with the engine, and so are these copper mining nodes. These crystals are multicolored, and we now have a mining pick. We can take that, and these rocks are also new in this version, as is this fence. Let's continue on and let Nocturus destroy some more bunnies here with his solar channeling abilities. And now we're going to go harvest a tree here, this harvestable tree here, also new, and you can see we've now got an axe in our hand, also new with the engine. We'll harvest a bunch of birch lumber and stick that whole tree in our pocket. Nocturus has apparently rather huge pockets. This set that's included with the engine uses a lot of shared textures in order to save size. So you can see we've got birch sticks, birch trees, the logs all use the same texture, and eventually you'll see other things using more of these shared textures that come with the kit. Nocturus has now collected all the ingredients he needs and now has to go ahead and refine all of the ingredients so that he can actually get his gear. So he's going to head over to the table and he's going to make some leather. Let's go ahead and make the leather, and we'll just craft one of those. And you can see Nocturus now has some needles in his hand. These are supposed to be sewing needles. I don't have any sewing needles, so they're actually wands, just made really small. You can also see on the crafting table here all the new prefabs, as well as the table itself. It's brand new in this version. We're just going to go into tailoring here and queue up a bunch of linen, and Nocturus is so powerful that he can make linen out of thin air without holding anything other than sewing needles in his hands, which is pretty cool. We've got a nice medieval saw over here on the table. We've got a hammer, a little blade over there, knife, and let's see, we got to make some birch wood and a polished blue gem. So we'll let Nocturus finish making his sewing stuff here. He may be powerful enough to make that out of thin air, but he's certainly not quick about it, that's for sure. Alright, let's make some birch wood. So we're going to go into the birch wood, we'll hit craft, and you can see we now whip out a saw and start chopping our hand. He's pretty powerful though, he can resist the saw, he's not taking any damage from that, so that's cool. And he also had that nice stick in his hand that appeared. And finally he needs to craft a polished blue gem, so let's do that. We'll go into jewelry here and grab the polished blue gem and craft one of those. And you can see this new blue crystal that appears in your hand as well. And when you're making polished yellow gems, you get a yellow crystal in your hand. So there's definitely a lot more prefabs here. Nocturus has apparently forgot to use one of his abilities, which was part of the quest, so he has to use Blast of Light, which is an AoE, and that was a pretty cool animation. I like that little blast of light going around him. And he also has to use Mana Pool, so he's going to use his Mana Pool ability and watch this new cool spell thing on the ground here while he refills his mana with the Mana Pool. Excellent. Let's go turn in the quest, and Nocturus can continue on with his domination of the bunnies. He's got to go make himself an initiate staff, so we'll go back over to the table here and whip up an initiate staff out of another piece of birch wood here. Also new as part of this episode. And we also have to make some clothing, so we're going to make some initiate's cloth gloves and a hood and some, what else do we need? Shoes and a robe. So robe and some shoes. While this stuff is crafting, we can take a look around and we can see that there's some nice grass with wind blowing around included in the engine. And we have a couple different varieties of birch tree leaves. We've got these nice autumn birch tree leaves as well as the greener birch tree leaves that are included. These are a little bit stylized. I have some realistic birch tree leaves I'm going to be putting in. I like the sort of semi-realistic way to go in the engine. There we go. Nocturus is done with crafting his gear, so he's going to complete his quest, and now he is prepared. So he's going to equip all this gear, including that new staff. And now we can see some new staff with a blue gem in it, and this is new in this version of the engine, so that's great. We took the blue gem that we mined and held in our hand, and we stuck it on the end of the staff, and we got this nice gray set of armor because it's a pretty plain set of armor made from dead bunny skins. Let's go turn in the quest here. And Nocturus will be told that the zombies have returned and he must fend them off by blinding them with his rays. So let's go ahead and do that. And you can see here the zombie has some new animations. The zombie actually has his own custom attack animations here. And even though we don't have a zombie model, we're just using a blue Uma model, it's still kind of cool because, he's not using the standard ones. He's got actual special zombie animations. So let's complete the quest here, because what happened is we just picked up a gem off him and we learned the weakness spell that he's casting on everybody. So I'm going to blind him with the blinding ray here and then just hit him with the solar singe. Hopefully the knight over there doesn't die. There we go. We got it. And we're going to take that, and you can see now we have weakness. Let's cast weakness, and you can see the new spell effect. You can see these sort of like purple clouds underneath the feet, and this is part of the smoke effect that's included in the engine now. You can also see that all of the knights have the weapons equipped on them, and this is part of the new weapon attachment system. And the new weapon attachment system is pretty powerful because what it allows us to do is have one definition for a weapon where we just say this weapon is going to go on the sword sheathed attachment, and then the characters, depending what your bone structure is, will have just a table that says, sword sheath is equipped or equivalent to, and then the actual bone name. So these weapons that these guys are carrying are actually going to be used. You'll see them on guys with completely different bone structures, and in fact our player can even equip all these weapons as well. It looks like the zombie attack is over. Nocturus has helped his team defeat them, and now he's going to be sent off to go try to find the source of this zombie invasion. Let's go ahead and accept the quest, and Sir Invincible has told us that we're going to go out and do this zombie invasion all by ourselves. He's not going to be assisting us. So let's go ahead and start taking out some undead and try to find the source of the invasion here. Nocturus's spells are pretty powerful here. So he will head over towards the graveyard, and it looks like he needs to rebuff now. You You can see the Skeleton Slayer is also a new model, and the Skeleton Slayer just shot a lightning bolt at us, which is also completely new in this version. And you can see the sword that the Skeleton Slayer is holding is the exact same sword that the Paladin was holding, and that's working with that new attachment system, even though they have a different bone structure. We need to kill a couple of these Skeleton Slayers until they drop an ability for us. We can actually get the lifesteal from them. We're not really like a blue mage, but if we kill enough of these guys, we'll get something. This is kind of cool. We got a random drop off this guy. It's a necklace, so let's put that on. It's actually a pretty good necklace. It's a blue necklace, and looks like we got a drop of a cape as well. And why don't we put these potions on our bars too? And we actually got a sash drop for us as well. We'll wear that on our waist. Okay, let's keep killing undead until we get that life drain spell, because it's going to make the whole rest of the game super easy, and it's massively overpowered. Wow, and we just got an Uber Copper Staff here. So we'll put that on. That's really cool. Extra spell damage, extra speed. Nice random drops happening today. I am not usually this lucky with the RNG here. So it must be because I'm playing Nocturus. Nocturus is obviously so powerful that the drops fear him, and here we go. We finally got the life tether. Alright, this is going to make everything so much easier. We also got a new ability, Sunbath, from leveling up. So let's go ahead and defeat the Skeleton's Warrior. You can see over here the new cemetery set. We've got this metal fence here, which is included in the engine, as well as these cement gate things, and these trees over here with no leaves on them. We've got all of the new prefabs in the cemetery here, and we've got this skeleton warrior is using some of the new swords and shield models, and he's also using the universal attachment. This is actually the exact same sword and shield that the character can equip. You can also see the electricity spell and hear the electricity as the character casts it. Let's take everything here, and we picked up a small glowing crystal that's glowing, and it glows brighter as Nocturus walks north. We've also got a bone staff in here, which we are going to put on because it's got a really fun ability. We got an achievement, and we have this ability called Undead Slayer on us, and because we're holding a piece of the undead boss, all of the undead are now afraid of us. They've turned orange. They're afraid to attack us. And you can see this new bone staff that is included in the AnyRPG engine. It gave us the ability necromancy, which we will have some real fun with later because it's kind of overpowered. Heading over to the mine shaft, we see it is glowing quite brightly, and it looks like it was broken open from the inside. So we're just going to get out of here. It sounds like the safe thing to do. And we're going to go report back to the camp and tell them that we beat up the skeleton boss, and we have defeated the undead, and they're no longer afraid of us. So getting back to the base, we find that they have not yet despawned, but they are not attacking us at all because they're afraid of us. And Sir Invincible tells us that we need to go investigate that mine, where we will see a whole pile of new stuff included in the engine. There is a complete mine kit included in the engine, as well as a custom-made mine level that I made in Blender. And so there's also a bunch of new character models that we'll be seeing. There are some new rock golems, and the rock golems are really neat because they can also be forest monsters and ice golems depending on what kind of skin you put on them. And this well, of course, totally new, and the spell effects here are all totally new. So you can hear in the background the ambient sounds. We've got water dripping, and then we've got this really cool spooky music loop happening here as well. You can see these new tin rocks over here. We've got tin ore. And we've also got some purple crystals over here. The entire mine level is new. Like I said, it was custom made, and we've also got a mine set here with these cool lights and lots of different sort of supports hanging around. We've got nice mine carts in here. We've got some cool crates, and then these really cool mine tracks, and then the new return to the surface door here, so you can just click on this to return to the surface. Then, of course, there's the rock golems down here, and we are going to use the necromancy ability, and we are going to make one of these guys into our pets. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to cast Blinding Ray on him, hit him with a solar burn, and then just start draining his life. You can see one of the new spell effects as well. Every time he hits us with his fist, he's doing like a rock crush, and you can see that little kind of explosion there. So we'll take that and we'll cast Necromancy, and we can see this new heart effect because now our rock golem is in love with us, and he's kind of got this little heart flashing to let us know that he's our pet. So he's going to follow us around, and he's basically just going to demolish all the other rock golems for us a lot quicker now. We've also got a recipe drop, so why don't we go ahead and just right click on that and learn it. And we got a new bag from the skeleton boss, so we can equip that, and now we have more bag space. We can take all the loot here, and it looks like we got some new robes, and you can see the new brown robes. So because we're underground, we're wearing brown robes now in this gear set. And this is also part of the new changes in the engine as well, is the Uma gear recolors. And you'll see a lot of these recolors further on in this demo as well. And our rock golem is just doing a great job of taking aggro there. He's pretty powerful. In this dungeon, you can see that these monsters have about twice as much health as we do. And they do a lot more. About 1.5 times as much damage. This rock golem, of course, also has an earth shatter, and you can hear the new rock crash sound effects as well when he hits his target and the rock explodes. We'll keep on learning these recipes and putting on these new pieces of gear, and if we're lucky, we'll get the 5-piece set bonus, and that would give us a 10% damage reduction against all damage. We can start seeing some of the new crystals from the crystal set here as well, some of the glowing ones. And we're making it pretty close to the back of the mine here, where Nukchoris can discover the source of the glowing crystals. One more rock golem to take out. Okay, we are ready to go fight a boss. Now, in this boss fight, be aware that he's going to do some pretty cool stuff. He is a new boss model, and he has an attack that will happen at the 50% mark. He's going to switch into phase 2. You're going to hear the music change, and he's going to start doing this ground slam effect. So just watch for the red stuff on the ground. It's a directional attack that will stun the player, and I think it looks pretty cool. There we go, there's that attack, and you can see the new stun effect as well, as this guy and me get this new gold coins popping out of our heads as we get stunned. And you can hear this music as well. It's also part of the new music included with the game. Pretty epic music track there. Alright, awesome. We got some loot, we defeated the boss. And we actually got another piece of gear, which is really cool, and another bag. Bunch more recipes, and we don't quite have our 5-piece set bonus. Oh well, not a big deal. You can see these new crystals over here. We reached the bottom, and this is a glowing crystal that appears to have animated all these rocks nearby. So we'll take a sample and we'll head back and inform Sir Invincible. At this point, we'll use our new teleport ability, and you'll see our new teleport effect, because it's just going to be quicker to head back to the Soul Forge rather than just run back through that cave. As you progress through the game, one of the features that the engine has is that certain things can be unlocked with a prerequisite that basically you've visited a certain zone. So in this case, you can see that now we've got a Birch Grove crystal, but further up at the top of the pyramid here, you'll also see a red crystal, and that crystal can take us back to Crystal Mine directly if we wanted to as well. And every time that you travel to a level, it unlocks. You can also see even the crystal itself. This new translucent crystal is part of the new crystals in the set, and the blue crystal that appears in your hand when you're crafting is basically just a smaller version of that. Another thing that I forgot to mention earlier is that if Nukchoris here was unfortunate enough to jump and land on top of the forge here, just like the other fire, it also can set him on fire. So we can come back and turn in the quest now and give the crystals back to Sir Invincible and get sent off to grab some cheese before we go to the priestess, because the priestess is the only person who can authorize the Sunsworn to help us try to save the world. Heading down, we can see the new mouse base here, which is just part of the new terrain on this level. And while we're over here, why don't we actually pick up a mushroom? I think there's a mushroom on the ground over here somewhere, brown mushroom, and you can see this new brown mushroom model. This has also got an LOD on it. We'll be using this to craft some potions later so that we can also see some of the new features in this version. We talked to Squeak-a-Lot here. Squeak-a-Lot's supposed to be a mouse. We don't actually have a mouse model available in the engine yet, so this is one of the very few things that's still sort of like just a temporary placeholder. Squeak-a-Lot over there sends us to kill 6 goblin rangers, which are attacking the base. We can see the new goblin ranger models over here. We'll get closer to them later. They are also using that new universal attachment system. We're sent up to talk to Sneak-a-Lot in the mouse base, where we can see a whole pile of new prefabs and stuff that are included in the engine. This entire kit is a custom-made kit just for the engine. You can see we've got these watchtowers, and you can actually sort of climb up these things. There isn't really any limit on the slope limit in the game, so you can actually wander around and explore them if you can manage to climb up them. Talking to Sneak-a-Lot, he tells us that he wants to make a bunch of scrolls, and because we know alchemy, he's going to send us off to collect some swampweed. So let's head back down through the back of this base where we can see more of these watchtowers and see some other new prefabs that are included. We've got like a little cellar over here, a couple different types of watchtowers. These watchtowers are like huts, they got roofs on them, and then there's like actual huts. And then inside these huts here, we've also got some new beds for the mice to sleep on. We can also see a new dock model out here and some new boats and some new buckets that are all included with the engine as well in this version. And in the water, of course, we also have splashing footsteps, because different types of footstep areas are actually a thing in the engine now, and you'll see that later on as well when we have echoing footstep areas. Nocturus will continue around collecting swamp reed because we're not getting a lot of swamp reed from these drops here, like 1 each, and we have 8 to go. And the swamp reed, of course, is one of the new plant prefabs that's included in the engine. There we go, got a couple that time. Nocturus runs so fast that he just kind of flies up in the air when he goes up a slope. Let's go fight one of these goblin rangers here. You can see the new subjugated bunny. That's just like the angry reanimated bunny, the new blood effect. And there's of course the new lootable effect on this goblin. These goblins are pretty cool. They're just, you know, they look like a goblin ranger. They've got a bow, and the character can actually hold this bow, and will actually get Nocturus to go equip this bow later as well. Nocturus picked up a damaged bow, and he's actually got a quest to find somebody who can fix the damaged bow for him. Nocturus needs to go collect one more swamp reed, so it looks like our swamp reed is respawning there. So we'll just go pick up the last swamp reed, and then we can go out and we can kill a few more goblins and complete that quest as well. Blessing of the Makers gives us a movement speed increase, so we want to make sure that we've got that on at all times because it's going to make us move 10% faster. Here we can see the goblin rangers are fighting with the mice, and the goblins are winning because they've got bunnies and arrows, and that makes it a lot easier for them to kill the mice than it does for the mice to kill them. However, Nocturus is the most powerful being in the universe, so Nocturus can just zap them with these super cheap lightning bolts. I mean super fair lightning bolts, because this is Nocturus. Everything is fair with Nocturus. Let's collect the goblin ears here, because we need goblin ears in order to purchase the cheese for the priestess. The mice use the earwax from the goblin ears in order to preserve their cheese, because otherwise, how else are you going to preserve cheese? This is the medieval times. Nocturus has defeated all of the goblins and can now go claim victory at helping the mice defend against a goblin attack. He'll head back over here to Squeak-a-Lot and turn in the quest. The goblins are still attacking, and Nocturus has been sent to try to figure out how to make them retreat. And one of the ways to do that is to starve them out. So we're going to go talk to the cook and figure out what goblins eat so that we can try to starve the goblins out and make them go home hungry. Every army needs food. Our friend Sneak-a-Lot here has let us know that he can teach us alchemy, and he can teach us inscription, and now we are going to be his personal full-time scribe, and we're going to make scrolls for him. I'm going to buy a vial of water here, and why don't we empty out the bank, or empty out our bags here of all of the junk that we have. And you can see some of the new icons and hear the new clicking sound effect probably. Or I mean the new money sound effect as we sell our gear, and we can hear those sort of coins clinking away there. So we'll just empty out pretty much everything. We don't really need any of this stuff. We've already got the best gear on. And I'm just going to move this stuff up here because I like to organize my bags so that I have like a it's safe to sell everything in this bag and then don't sell anything in this bag. It's always good to keep your bags organized. So we'll just sell everything there. Perfect. And now Nocturus is rich with 7 gold, 85 silver, and 42 copper. And he still needs that mouse cheese. So he's going to pay 10 goblin ears, and he gets the mouse cheese as well. Heading over here, we can see another new feature of this new version. We've got Save a Lot, and we've got a bank in here with some treasure chests and this nice grate here, as well as all the little metal coins on the bottom. And we can just take anything that we've got and put it in the bank if we don't need it as well. Like this weak health potion. We can see the new crafting table prefab. This chair and this table are included custom with the engine. This feather pen is a custom creation for the engine as well as this black inkwell, these scrolls, and these potion bottles over here. So when we craft potions, we can see we will get a potion bottle appearing in our hand, and it's going to start empty, it's going to get some stuff in it, and then it's going to get a cork on it, and then we'll be done crafting it. Let's make the scrolls. We'll start crafting the parchment paper here, and you can see the new feather pen and the new scroll appear in the player's hand, and of course that's all new stuff in this engine, or in this version of the engine as well. We're just going to queue these things up. The craft system has an invisible queue. So that means that we can just click on craft, and he'll just keep on crafting all of those scrolls for us. We'll see these appear eventually on our bars once we start crafting them. He's just finishing up with the swamp reed now. Now we have 9 parchment paper in our bags. And now we have a scroll of agility. I'm just going to move that scroll up to my other bag here. Move the mouse cheese up too, because we don't want to accidentally sell that. We've already got a better mana potion, so we can leave that 200 mana down there, because this one does 500. And honestly, the spells don't really take much mana right now. It's still a bit of an early alpha. Now we've got the Scroll of Intellect, and these are all using some of the new icons. These are not new this version, they're new as of last version, but still fairly new. Less than, I think, 6 weeks that they've been in the engine here. Alright, Nocturus is done crafting his scrolls, and he can go turn in the quest over to Sneak-a-Lot. And then he can go talk over to Mix-a-Lot over here. Over by Mix-a-Lot you can see a cooking cauldron, which is new in the engine, and Mix-a-Lot is going to tell us that we need to go steal the pigs because goblins like to eat pigs, and then now Mix-a-Lot is going to train us to cook. Every cooking cauldron in the game is interactable, and when you click on it you can find your recipes that you can cook. So we're going to go find some ham so we can make some cooked ham. The goblins keep their pigs over here behind their lines, so we're going to go sneak behind their lines and find some pigs. You'll see the pigs over here are also new in the engine, and when we get over here we'll see why we need to make these enemies disappear, because they have a giant boss over here who is tremendously humongous, the new goblin necromancer. He's a new character, and he's got this awesome bone axe which the warrior can actually wield, but he's got a whole pile of guards with bunnies which will totally nuke us if we go near them, so we're gonna have to starve them out. We're gonna take these little piglets. Piglet over here is also new in this version of the engine. We'll try not to get too close to the goblins, because if we do, we'll actually aggro them. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do that on purpose. I'm going to jump the fence in the wrong spot here. Okay, no, I was really lucky. There we go. And you can see a goblin has now aggroed me. Now, luckily, I'm Nocturus, so I can channel lightning bolts and I can kill the goblin from afar, because he's a ranged goblin and you can see he can shoot arrows at me. He's pretty dangerous. Over here we find Piggly Wiggly in a cage. I don't have a pig model yet, so we're using this pink Uma guy here. And Piggly Wiggly lets us know that he's going to teach us how to be a ranger, and he's going to fix that broken bow for us if we free him from the cage. The poor guy has been stuck in here because the goblins like to taunt him because he's related to the pigs. He tells us if we steal the bunny food that the bunnies will abandon the goblins. So now that we've stolen all the goblins' pigs and we've stolen all the bunny food, we're going to head off back to the base. We'll just make sure we refresh Blessing of the Makers so we can continue to run fast. And now we've got a bunch of uncooked ham and a bunch of bunny food. So we'll head up the hill here. And turn in the bunny food over at Mix-a-Lot at the cooking cauldron. And now he tells us that the goblins have been abandoned by their bunnies and they no longer have the bunnies, and now that we have some ham, we can actually cook some ham. So let's go ahead and craft that. You can see a cooking animation. We don't really have any prefab for cooking the ham yet, but once we get some ham, you will see a new prefab that we have, and that is all of the edible food in the engine. The engine has a little bit of edible food now. So we're going to take, let's see, take one of these cooked hams here and put them on our bars. They stack, so that's good. And actually, we don't really need any more than that. Okay, let's head over to Sneak-a-Lot. We just need to turn in this quest here. And then we will get the quest to go kill the goblin necromancer, and half the goblin army will have abandoned him, and all the bunnies will have abandoned them as well, which will mean that we'll finally be able to actually defeat the goblin. So let's head over there. And the goblin ranger guards have abandoned the goblin necromancer over by him, but these goblin rangers haven't been cleaned up yet. So we're just going to clean them up. They're not going to respawn after this. And even if we just take out a few of them, that might even be enough for the mice to clean the rest of them up. And of course, because we're Nocturus, we can just, you know, stand here and nuke them with lightning bolts from a distance. You can see also that when we're in combat, our character is now holding our staff down by the side. That's actually part of the new weapon animations, so that before the character was only able to stand in like a boxer stance, so the weapons were always kind of poking through his head. Over here we find Scratch-a-Lot and the Knights ready to attack, and we can see that now there's only 4 guards here over by the Goblin Ranger. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of that new edible food. So if we click on one of these cookable hams, we'll see a sausage appear in our hand, and then it gets half as big and turns into a slice and then completely disappears. And of course that edible food is now new in the engine as well. Let's use the scrolls and we'll go ahead and just buff ourselves up. And we can see the new icons up here as well. These are pretty new. They've only been in the engine a couple of weeks. We'll save our game, and now we're going to see a bunch of cool stuff, including some new epic music. So let's have fun and have an awesome battle. The Goblin Necromancer will eventually use his electricity ability and resurrect all of his guards, and you can see the new lightning AoE effect that he did to resurrect them, and you can see them standing up in the background and coming back to life. For this reason, it's smartest to fight the Goblin Necromancer away from all of his guards, and just try to let the mice do most of the work in taking him out. And the mice are doing their job. And he's almost gone. There we go. And ooh, there's still some Goblin Rangers alive over here. Okay, that's awesome. Our army of mice is actually going to go take out these Goblin Rangers too. Awesome. So now we find a cage key here and a broken fishing rod, which gives us a quest. We need to find the owner of the broken fishing rod, and that cage key will help us release Piggly Wiggly. So why don't we go take up Piggly Wiggly on his offer to teach us how to become a ranger. And we need need to clear out these goblin rangers as well, because apparently our mice decided that these guys were too far away and they're not really worth taking out. So we can free Piggly Wiggly now, and now Piggly Wiggly can teach us the secrets of how to become a ranger. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We can see that we're going to learn Arrow of Light, Arrow Barrage, Tendon Shot, Accurate Shot, Dizzy Shot, and Charm Pet, as well as Become Fast as a Wolf, which is just going to make the rest of the game easier because we're going to be 30% faster. We're also, of course, naked because rangers can't wear cloth robes. That's fine though, because we're Nocturus and will not get cold very easily. Let's go ahead and equip the ranger bow. And now we will go report back to camp and report our success. You can see that we are running much faster. And now that we're a ranger, we actually have the ability to do something really cool. We can capture pets. So let's go ahead over here, because we are so charming that if we wander over to this bunny and just click this heart button, the bunny will immediately have this heart flash, which is another one of the new special effects, and he's going to fall in love with us. The bunny is now going to follow us around for the rest of the game. He's a lovely little bunny, and this bunny has now been added to our pet journal. We captured the soul of the rock golem earlier, and now our hunter has captured the bunny. We got the soul of the rock golem because we used our resurrection necromancy ability to bring it back to life. And one of the things that happens when you use necromancy is you capture the enemy's soul, and you can then summon it anytime that you want. Nocturus is so amazing, he's even faster than the bunny, and the bunny struggles to keep up with Nocturus as Nocturus runs at an incredible rate. We saw a fisherman back here early, so it seems pretty logical that this broken fishing rod should be turned in over here. We're going to go kill this goblin ranger here. Eventually, Nocturus's bunny will catch up, but the goblin's dead already. We now see that Fish-a-Lot has a dialogue for us, and Fish-a-Lot lets us know that this fishing rod belonged to Swim-a-Lot, who went on a mission and appears to have been captured. And at some point in the future, they'll mount a rescue mission. He's so grateful to us, he teaches us how to fish, at which point we can see another new feature of the engine. We can see this little swimming fish over here. He's kind of animated. And we can see our new fishing rod. It's not really a fishing rod, it's a baseball bat, but we can pretend it's a fishing rod. Let's take the fish and then head back to the mouse base and go turn in that cheese. And once we turn in the cheese, then hopefully the priestess will agree to help us figure out how to prevent the end of the world. You can see, because the goblin invasion is over, that all of the cute fluffy bunnies have returned to the grove, and clearly they are not the source of the end of the world, as they're just being all cute and stuff. When we turn in the quest, we see another new spell effect here, a reality tear. And it's a shimmer in the air, and nobody other than Nocturus appears to be able to see it. Master Impassive thinks Nocturus is crazy. He's totally okay with giant skeletons, but he doesn't believe in shimmers in the air. Sir Invincible thinks Nocturus got hit on the head too hard. It's an entirely realistic possibility. He did get hit on the head a couple of times. And Apprentice Craftsman thinks Nocturus is just overtired and needs to get some sleep. But Nocturus knows this reality tear is real. So he's going to go back and he is going to ask the Guardian of Souls, what's up with this reality tear, Guardian of Souls? And to do that, he'll teleport back to the Soul Forge, and we'll see this new teleporter effect again. And he's going to leave his poor little cute fluffy bunny behind here. But that's okay. The bunny loves him and will come anytime he wants. Now, although Nocturus as a ranger can run at 9.24 meters per second instead of the standard 7, he should still keep that buff up, or he'll drop to 8. Talking to the Guardian of Souls, he lets us know that our Purple Tooth transmitter has downloaded all the data to him, and that we should make sure we don't wear any tinfoil hats, otherwise we won't be able to proceed with data downloads in the future. He's going to analyze the data and try to figure out why only we could see the tear. But in the meantime, we should go to the ATM, the automated telemonster machine, and we should do some training because he thinks we're going to have to fight some even tougher stuff in the future. Nocturus agrees. Nocturus is now a ranger with superior ranged skills and a ferocious bunny rabbit to protect him, so Nocturus will go do some training. We can head over here and proceed to the Arena of Trials, which is another new zone in this game. And we'll see, or I mean in this version of the engine, and we'll see a bunch of cool features in here. First, we see the Arena of Trials. It's a completely customized zone, and you can see the new gates back here as well that'll take us back to the Soul Forge. I don't have like a great spell effect for that yet, so it's kind of a temporary thing. We also see this new rusty jukebox model. Kind of more like a ghetto blaster. The original model in the game was a jukebox. And our rusty jukebox can play for us some music. So why don't we play some awesome music while we are having a fight here? And I'm going to play one of these songs that is not actually a background song. Let's just turn up the volume a little bit so we can hear that. There we go. Now this is some music that's suitable for the suspense before a battle. And in here we can see all the new character models that we have defeated are available for us to spawn and practice fighting at any given time. We can spawn this troll, we can spawn the bunny, we can spawn this goblin necromancer, the rock golems, the skeleton slayers, and you can see all the new avatars and icons that are in the game. The skeleton warriors, the zombies, the goblin rangers, and this guy, the dragon. Now the dragon is going to use a new spell effect. He can breathe fire, and if we let him, he'll actually set us on fire. And we're going to let him because we want to get set on fire because we're Nocturus and we can survive being set on fire. Maybe. Ah, there we go. Okay. Yep, and we can only survive like 1 or 2 shots of that. So let's quickly blind the dragon and then shoot him with some arrows. We're going to like 2-shot him because we're Nocturus and we can 2-shot dragons. And we get a dragon scale. And the Guardian of Souls has finished analyzing all of the data that he downloaded from our Purple Tooth transmitter. And he figures out that elemental energy is being drained. And this dragon scale that we just got allows us to call the dragon that we defeated. So we now have a dragon mount that will come to us anytime that we want. Let's go ahead and ride it. We're sent on a quest to go deliver the cheese to the priestess and then ask her where sources of elemental energy are so we can try to solve the mystery of where all the elemental energy is being drained to and what that has to do with the end of the world. We'll go talk to Sir Invincible over here, and he tells us, "Where did you disappear to?" And we tell him, "We didn't disappear, that's impossible." And he lets us know that the priestess is waiting for us at the Sun Temple. So we'll head off and we'll see the amazing new Sun Temple zone that's included in this release of the AnyRPG engine. We can head down the path and we now see a portal here that will allow us to travel to the Sun Temple. There's a lot of really cool stuff in the Sun Temple, a lot of new features in this release that weren't even in the last one. And the first one is this background music. This is the Odo's River Flows song by Gabriel Carranza. And he has generously agreed to allow AnyRPG to distribute this song with the engine. I think it is an amazing composition, and he is so talented for having made something like this. As we continue through the Sun Temple, we can see that it is a custom-designed medieval city, or town, in the middle of a lake, in the middle of the mountains. We're going to go explore all this stuff later, but we'll go pick up our quest first. And once we pick up our quest, then we'll go back down and we'll have a tour of the Sun Temple. You can see coming up here the new prefabs in the game. We've got this new brick texture on the ground. You can see the same fountain over there as before, and we've got this new giant temple church that's included in the game, as well as these nice castle walls. We've got double doors, all of the doors open, and let me just turn down the sound effects, or I mean the music here, because we'll turn up the effect volume and then you can hear the doors as well. There we go. So all the doors have sound effects now. And there's this new footsteps echoey area here that you can hear. And so, like the splash effect, we can make different footsteps depending on where we are. We can see some new character models here. Commander Sunlit is a new character model, and she's using that new prefab with a new sword. And High Priestess Luminessa is now actually got hair on her. We still need a good character model for her, which is why she's just this sort of temporary Uma model wearing her underwear. It's not because I'm a perv who likes to watch Umas in their underwear or anything like that. High Priestess Luminessa lets us know that the last time the elemental energy was found in the world, it caused a giant war that almost destroyed the world. And before she can condone us going out and trying to find more of it, we need to learn about the history of magic and elemental energy. So let's go ahead and do that.
In the beginning, there was no magic. Man could not project his will outside his body. In a time before history, people discovered that they could channel their will to control the environment around them. This channeling came to be known as magic. The users of magic were called magi.
You can see in the Sun Temple, we've got new bookshelves that are included.
But there was a side effect. You can read about it in this book right here.
And about 20 different types of books, as well as new book animations for Apprentice Historian Flair. You can also see a red version of the gem that he's holding here. Or I mean a red version, or red gemmed version of the staff. And then of course over here we have High Channeler Fission, who has the Windy Cyan version, as well as the Windy Gem version of that staff as well. And the new History of Magic cutscene. With the new wind background, you can hear the ambient wind.
Man worked and toiled all day. Work, work, work. Magic made life easier.
The engine now comes with aspen trees.
But it also caused the life force of the caster to leak out into the environment.
And corn.
What's this? What is happening? Where it could grant sentience to anything it touched.
So now we know that the rocks came to life
Around the time that people discovered magic, there was a tribe of ancient sun worshippers called the Sun Dancers.
because of the magic rocks.
Two twins, Jaden and Jaren Sundancer, discovered that their traditional dancers had the power to channel the sun. Unlike magic, which leached the life force of the user, the sun did not corrupt anything when channeled. The twins practiced their dancing until their ability to control the sun made them more powerful than even the strongest mages. Have you ever seen a sun dance? Your timing could not be better. Instructor Foxy is out in the courtyard right now. Her students are about to begin practicing the dance. Yes, definitely. Come back to me once you have seen it.
We receive a quest to go watch the sun dance, and we will get to hear some more new music that is included in the engine. So let's go ahead and talk to Foxy and start this next scene. And this is some new desert music included. And Instructor Foxy, also a temporary model, which is why she's in her underwear. But you can see her conducting away. And you can see the sun dancers dancing. This dance will go on for a few minutes. While we're over here, let's go take a look at a cool new feature of the engine. Looping behaviors. Behaviors can now be set to loop. Unlike the dance with Instructor Foxy where you have to trigger it manually, players can now, or NPCs can now do things on a loop. Let's have a look at these two guys and see what they do. Looks like this guy thinks his kicks are the best. And so he's going to kick this dummy, which is also a new prefab included in this version of the engine. And it looks like this other guy over here disagrees with him. Tells him he's a wimp for wearing boots, and he's going to tear this one apart with his bare hands. And then of course our trainer over here tells him to stop arguing, and they're both doing great. And that's just going to continue looping, and it'll happen every 45 seconds or so. We can finish talking to Apprentice Historian Flair over here, turn in the quest.
Although mana could grant sentience to anything it touched, it did not grant intelligence or wisdom. Fire elementals would burn everything around them. Likewise, the dead would come back to life with an eternal grudge against everyone. Wars tore the world apart and threatened to destroy it, until the Sundancer twins created the Sunswarm, with the goal of banning magic use and protecting the world from harm. They amassed an army of followers and tried to convince everyone to abandon their harmful ways. Not everyone agreed, and there were many battles.
In this next cutscene, we will see a whole pile of new stuff in the engine, a bunch of new trees, a bunch of new rocks, and a whole pile of new spell effects, as well as a couple new recolors of the Uma armor, and some new weapons as well. So just watch it. Everything in this scene is totally new, and once again available in the engine if you download it.
The Magi were destroying the world with their thoughtlessness. The more magic was used, the more monsters emerged. The undead were winning the battle against the living. The Sunsworn offered the barbarians the chance to repent. The barbarians refused, and the Sunsworn were forced to wage war on them to protect the world.
So you can see the new yellow force fields over on the Jaden and Jaren Sundancer twins. You can see the new blizzard prefab over to the right here, our new lightning storm. In the background, you can probably hear rain and thunder. It's one of the new ambient sounds in the engine. You can see the violet dresses on the death liches and the blue dress on the frost lich, also included in the engine.
When the last battle had been won, there was a problem to deal with. Something had to be done about all the mana still in the environment. The power of the sun could contain it, but at night, the Sunsworn were powerless. They had to find a solution that allowed them to contain the mana safely at all times. It was decided that some of the technology created by magic use would be repurposed to create a seal that would work at all times.
These voiceovers are absolutely amazing. They are provided by Hand Avatar, and my girlfriend, who doesn't even like video games, this next cutscene is her absolute favorite, and she loves the voice acting and the animation in it. So I hope you enjoy this, and big thanks to Hand Avatar for the awesome voice acting in this.
A remote location was chosen in the desert where the sun always shone. A large well called the Mana Seal was built to contain the collected mana. It used the power of the sun to form an impenetrable barrier. Special automations called Lunamex would collect the light rays during the day. When the sun set, the Lunamex would release the stored energy to maintain the shield.
So that cutscene demonstrated a lot of really cool features of the engine. We have integration with the Unity timeline. There was a starry skybox at night in order for us to get that darkness effect, and that's also included in the engine, the ability to use the timeline to control your skybox. We saw the new Lunamech models with the new yellow force field and the new sand texture. We've got this great desert sand texture to use for sandy environments, as well as those towers were actually made with that labyrinth kit. So, you know, that labyrinth kit is super flexible and you can make a lot of stuff with it. So now that we've learned all about the history of magic, the High Priestess wants us to go check and see if the mana seal is still functional, because if it is functional, we need to figure out where the mana came from. So we are sent to talk to High Channeler Fission, who is going to tell us that the location of the mana seal is a secret known only by the Knights of the Light Guard, and that we will need to travel to Light Fury Outpost. Let's go ahead and do that, but first we're going to take a tour of the city, because honestly this Sun Temple is so awesome that it is worth just checking out literally every single feature in here on our way out of the city. So we've already seen everything up at the top here. Let's go down to the next level and we can check out the Merchant Bazaar, where we will buy ourselves some new leather gear, because we're a hunter now and we're wearing nothing. We're just going to sell all our old gear. We're not going to need any anymore. We don't need any cloth gear. And we can just get rid of all this vendor junk as well. We don't need any of this ham anymore. We don't even really need that bone staff. We don't need parchment paper. We don't need mana potions either. The hunter uses mana, but not a lot. Okay, great. So now we're rich. We've got a bunch of gold. Holy cow. We sold our bone staff and we have 163 gold. That's how overpowered that bone staff was. So this is great. Now we can buy whatever we want. So we're going to buy the new apprentice's armor set. So 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, and 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. Perfect. And then we should go over to a cloth vendor. And we should also pick up a cape. So let's pick up a apprentice's cape. Okay, great. So now we've got a bunch of new gear and we can put it on and we can see there's the pants. Perfect. So now we can see that Nocturus is fully decked out in one of the new armor sets that's included in the engine, this just awesome yellow armor set. You can also see on his back this quiver, and the quiver is part of the new attachment system where any weapon, like this bow, can define multiple prefabs to attach to the character. Now that we're all decked out, let's see, we got all the gear that we need. We got every slot filled, so that looks good. Let's go take a look at some of these vendors over here. So over here you can see our new jewelry vendor, and she's one of the new character models here in the game. And I think she is completely awesome. I need to adjust her nameplate, it's a little too low, but she is this awesome, cool, medieval female character with like this little sort of like hip thing. I guess apparently I need to put colliders on this vendor tent as well. The table has colliders on it though. We've got this new whetstone model here, which is included, and you can use that to make jewelry. And then we've got multiple different colors of crystals that are now available in the engine. Also here we can see these trees. These are, I believe they're aspen trees. Yeah, these are aspen trees right here. You can see an example of the yellow staff and a different kind of quiver, a more fancy one that's included in the engine over here. And then of course there's these two varieties of merchant tents that are sharing the same texture with the cloth as the earlier tent. And then we have 8 different colors of potions here, and these are some of the potions that you saw with the alchemy crafting earlier. And all the corks and colors are removable, so the bottles can be empty. You can take the corks off and do whatever you need with them. Let's keep on going and we'll see some of the other new prefabs that are included in the engine. The engine includes an incredible inn and this awesome medieval building set that was put together by Daniel Andreessen and released into the public domain on by a couple people on Open Game Art. So let's go ahead and take a look around the inn. We can open the door, we can see a fire in here, and we can see some food on the table. Now, just like your favorite game Skyrim, you can steal stuff, so let's go ahead and just steal the bread on the table, and why don't we steal the cheese on the table as well? And then why don't we check out how awesome our stolen bread and cheese is, and just have a snack. So the cheese is edible. It's going to start off big, it's going to become a slice, totally disappear. Let's go eat the cheese where we can actually see it and our hand isn't in a table. We can eat some bread as well. Click on it, there we go, and we get this giant loaf of bread in our hand, and it becomes half a loaf and a slice and then goes away. And here's the innkeeper, and you can see her just a little bit better now. We can go into the kitchen here. We can see a cooking cauldron, and the cooking cauldron, we can cook in it. These windows are swappable. It's a modular set. You can put any windows you want on here. There's 8 different varieties included. And over here it looks like somebody's ready to chop up a fish. If we head out the back of the inn, we actually end up in like a sort of little storage shed back here that's attached to it, and of course the door's all open. Continuing around the inn, we can see a table, some chairs, and some new plates, and our innkeeper was super fast. She's like the Flash. She just like put the food back on the table already. And we can wander up the stairs here to the 2nd floor. We can open this door and we can go have a wander outside on the balcony, kind of. Camera doesn't like being on the balcony. Got to do some work on that camera still. We can also see down here, if we wanted, we could like jump over this railing and go check out down below. And we've also got an inn room here. The inn room has a couple of candles and a couple of tables and a bed. This is all included. These are new prefabs in the engine. And then of course this candle has like this cool sort of like spell effect here, and you can see that there's a flame on the candle. Let's head out. We'll jump down here and go outside and go check out some more of the new buildings. So you can see the grass here. This is a new feature in the engine. The grass is waving around here in the wind. And we have a tailor's guild too, so we'll head inside the tailor's guild. We can see some mannequins. We can see our seamstress here. This is actually from the wonderful world of Kelgar. That's actually where most of these characters come from, and I really have to thank the people who made the wonderful world of Kelgar, because this engine would be nothing without all these character models. They're just awesome. We can see a sewing table over here. This is also new in the engine. We've got some new wood textures that we're sharing, 2 different wood textures, this finished wood and the rough wood, and these sewing needles and a knife over here. And then this is a modular building. We can actually swap out these walls with brick walls if we want, swap out any of the windows. We can make it 2 floors or 3 floors if we want, and put whatever we want inside of it. The stairs, there's a couple different stair configurations you can do as well. So this entire thing is basically a modular kit that used to not have interiors, and I spent a few weeks in Blender giving it interiors. And it's totally free and included with the engine. We've got a new bank over here. You can see the grates on the windows instead of other windows. This is actually the exact same model as the building beside it. It's just with different modular roof swapped out, and then the windows swapped out with grates, and the wall textures swapped out, but it's all one prefab. In our bank here, we've got a bank manager, just like the mouse bank, and you know, some treasure chests and gold and stuff in there as well. Continuing on, we've got a bunch of farms down here, and we can see another model of the house. This particular version of the house has stairs, and why don't we go inside and see, because this is actually like a residential house. So we can see this version of the house has a cooking cauldron. Of course, like any cooking cauldron, we can cook in it. And they've got a table in here, and once again, you know, we can just steal all their food, eat it. And we can see a couple different configurations of the stairs here. And if we go up to the top, then we're going to be able to see our peasant's bed, and we can see 2 candles here, and both of these guys have flames this time. Let's try to walk down the stairs here if we can. One thing I'm finding is that this house is built to realistic dimensions. It is exactly the right height for someone. You know, you can see my character's 2 meters tall, the ceiling's about 8 feet. In video games, I think you want your ceilings to be 1.5 to 2 times as tall as they'd normally be, so your camera has room to move around. Back here we got a cornfield full of corn. This corn also new in this version of the engine. Somebody made it for a joke. I textured it and UV mapped it, and now it's edible corn. So if you have herbalism, you can actually steal this corn from the farmer. You just come in, take his corn, and also, like the other food, you can eat the corn. The corn doesn't really have an edible phase, so he just kind of chews on it and it just sort of disappears, but it's still pretty cool that you can eat it. Let's take a look back here. We've got some garden tools. These garden tools are all completely new in the engine, and they're pretty good looking. You know, we've got a wheelbarrow, some hose, a bunch of shovels and stuff. In the future, I have shoveling animations, and I'm going to have peasants like working in the fields and stuff. That'll probably be coming in the next version. Back here we can see another peasant's house. We already know what's inside there, but we are going to check out this field back here because we have some watermelons, and we can go steal the watermelons from the peasants as well. And we'll go loot that, and then you can see we've also got this edible watermelon. So it's going to start off as a whole watermelon, become a half watermelon, and then slowly disappear as we eat it. Let's continue on. And you can see a bunch of different types of houses now. We've got these smaller houses as well. So there's 2 different styles. There's a big house and then the tiny little small house. And unfortunately the small house is just a small house with no upper floor. And so our peasant here is too poor to even afford a kitchen table. There's no food to steal from him. And why would you want to steal food from a poor peasant anyway? What a bad person you are just for thinking about it. Okay, over here we have some new flowers, right? We have some wild indigo, and this is an herbalism flower, so we can just go ahead and take that as well. Heading down to the bottom level here, we're going to see something really special. We've got chickens. The chickens peck, the chickens scratch, and eventually they'll wander around and go find a new place to peck and scratch. Of course, chickens, 3 of them, 3 chickens, need to be owned by Dinneress. Dinneress, the mother of chickens. And of course over here we've got Egg-On, the father of roosters, with his rooster. Now let's watch Egg-On for a little while, because Egg-On is going to tell his rooster something really special. He says, Clacaris, and his rooster breathes fire. Wow, that's a pretty awesome rooster. I like Egg-On's rooster, fire-breathing rooster. I'm going to pull out my Nukchoris charm, and I'm going to make that rooster mine. Rooster, I dub thee Roosty, and you will come with me, and you will Clacaris all over my enemies for me. I love you, Roosty. You're my new best friend. Roosty's a little small, though. He's got these tiny little chicken legs, so he kind of has trouble keeping up to me. If we continue on through the city, we're going to see some other really cool stuff down here. Just a bunch of trees and stuff. But over here, we have a fully functional blacksmith. So our blacksmith can sell us stuff. I just accidentally bought some plate boots, I think. We've got an anvil over here we can do our blacksmithing at, and we've got like a full forge here with like 20 different tools. These are all also included in the engine. The blacksmith, I added an interior to it. Took me a couple days, but it's done. And you can come inside, you can open the doors, you can wander around, and you can go up the stairs here, and you can just go check out where the blacksmith sleeps if you want to go see his bed. And everybody has candles on their table, because of course this is medieval times and there's no lights in these houses. So this is also totally custom made for the engine. We've got a new Saxon warrior here. This is our warrior trainer. He's pretty awesome. He'll teach you how to be a warrior. And wow, look at that. Roosty's still breathing fire. Roosty's going to use that fire, and he's going to breathe it all over my enemies later on. He's going to be my best friend. You can see this new peasant model, same as the father of roosters. I love this mud eater model. It's also from the wonderful world of Calgar. And of course we've also got some leather over here, because this is the tannery. So we've got some buckets down here by the water for tanning, some tanning stretchers, and then this awesome limule. Let's go tell Roosty that it's time to attack that thing. Watch Roosty attack it. Roosty has a triple claw attack. He's going to claw it 3 times. You can see his blood. Roosty's one of the most powerful pets in the game, because he can blast people with his Clacaris ability and pretty much one-shot them. Let's go take a look at the tannery here. Can open up the double doors and head inside, and if we go up to the top floor, we can see a leather working workbench with a leather working hammer and a knife and some leather on it, and we can do our leather working over here. Continuing around, we can go find some more guilds over here. There is a journeyman woodworker standing over in front of the Woodworkers Guild. This is also from the wonderful world of Calgar. And we can open up this door here, and we can take a look, and we can see a woodworking table with a saw and a hammer and a woodworker's axe over here. Got some piles of wood lined up over here. And if we head up the hill, we will find a watermill, and this is an awesome watermill that I forgot to add a collider to, so we'll definitely put a collider on it in the next version. This thing's animated, it's not turned on right now, but this crank underneath is going to turn around, and this water wheel can actually animate. So this whole new level is all pretty custom. It's awesome. We've got like a little stream here leading up to a pond. And these pine trees are also harvestable, so we can chop down this tree here. And there we go. Take all the pine wood and make the tree go away. Let's continue up the hill here, and we will find another new feature in the engine. We've got a fishing pond up here. You can see a couple fishes swimming around, and we've got this bridge, which I also apparently failed to add a collider to, so we'll have a collider on that in the next version as well. We've got this shack here. This is new. The shack has a collider. And over here we've got a fisherman who can teach us how to fish. And of course we can just fish as well, because we also learned how to fish in the mouse camp. There's no swimming in the game yet, so you'll just sort of sink right down to the bottom, and that's why basically your character can climb up any cliff he wants at this point. We can go inside the fishing shack and we can see there's, you know, a table, more food. We can steal some bread from this guy. And you can see the bed and the candle as well that are included. Carrying on, we can find some mining nodes. There's some gold ore over here, so let's go take a look at that. This is part of that crystal set, and it's just using a gold texture. Actually, it looks a little more like copper, but I promise you it's gold. Okay, so we have now pretty much explored the entire Sun Temple, and it is time for us to go investigate Light Fury Outpost. But first, we're just going to go over here and just check out the archery range with Danica Light Quiver, our huntress, and our archery targets. And in the next version, I'm going to have her like standing around doing like random stuff, basically, like shooting at the targets, just like the same way that those fighters are animating. Poor Roosty is getting lost way back there. He's got, like I said, short little chicken legs. He's really having trouble keeping up here. Actually, you know what? Before we leave the Sun Temple, let's go check out something else. The Sun Temple is a pretty cool zone, and it's pretty cool because it's got like a bunch of wildlife and stuff in it. And a couple of the other things that we got with the kit are some horseshoe crabs, which we'll eventually go find. And if I can walk up this straight cliff, okay, awesome. We'll fix that eventually, but for now, we don't need to. Here we go. So there's a horseshoe crab, or I mean like just like a shell crab over here. And, you know, we can hop off our mount and we can shoot it with arrows, and we can see the new bow and arrow prefabs as well. We've actually got real arrows in the engine. Let's continue on because we're going to go find a really cool grove full of more wildlife. Heading over into this grove, we can see another bug where my character is going to keep on splashing. We'll have to fix that eventually, but anyway, here you can see more deer. So the engine now includes a doe, and she'll basically stand around and then she'll sort of like eat on the ground for a little while. She's animated, so she's pretty cool. I wonder if I can take her as a pet. I don't know if I made her a pet yet. Oh, look at that. She loves me. She's going to follow me around. She's like Bambi now. Awesome. Let's turn that splash sound effect down a little bit. And let's go try to find a buck. There are bucks in here somewhere, if I can find one. Ah, there we go. Perfect. Got a buck. So we've also got this awesome guy over here with these absolutely huge antlers, and he'll stand around for a while. You know, he'll eat and then he'll go find another place and he'll patrol around the level as well. And Bambi's finally caught up to us. You can see she's got a pretty cool running animation there. Definitely looks like a deer. Deer kind of hop around like that. Okay, so let's head out to Light Fury Outpost now, where we can check out more of the cool new features in this version of the engine. There, that's better. If I run out of the water, it'll reset the sound, and then I don't have to hear the splashing sound. The splashing sound is actually a little bit loud. I'm still working with normalizing the sounds in the engine. I got these sound effects and the songs from a lot of different places, and so I haven't had time to normalize them all in Audacity yet. So you might have to adjust the volume up and down a little bit to get it just right. We can see the new Light Fury Outpost zone now, and let me just see if I can turn up the music a little bit, because this one has a really cool music in the background. There we go. We got this just sort of like ominous, like, well, the music, it's literally, it's just called ominous. Let's go ahead and summon Roosty. We're going to go to our pets list here. We're going to grab Roosty. We're going to call him. There we go, Roosty. And now Roosty can just help us take out the squirrels and everything else. Roosty's awesome. I'm just going to let him do all the work for me, because he can just sort of one-shot most of these guys. Alright, go Roosty. Attack the squirrel. And attack the other squirrel, if I can attack him. There we go. You can do it, Roosty. Although, I mean, Nocturus is pretty overpowered as a ranger anyway. He can pretty much two-shot anything. Okay, so we have a dead commander here. This is a new custom skin that I put on one of these knight models here. And our dead commander has been burnt to a crisp somehow, and his body has been turned to glass. This is no good. We were supposed to find some Knights of the Light Guard here, and instead we find a bunch of undead squirrels roaming around and a bunch of dead knights. We get over to here to this dead guard, and we find a hole in his heart that's been burned through him like a laser beam. So of course we're going to steal his cheese because he's dead and he doesn't need his cheese, right? Because we're Nocturus and we just roll like that. We're going to find another dead guard over here, and we see a white hand symbol stamped on his chest. And we wonder, is this some sort of trophy? What's with the symbol on his chest? Roosty's going to help us take out this other squirrel so that we can investigate the final guard over here. And we see a map over by this guard. It's covered in blood, and clearly the guard died to protect it. So let's follow the map out into the desert and go find the mana seal. You can see this new mana seal level with the new sand textures and the new buildings. We're going to call Roosty again, because Roosty's awesome. Whoa, no, we just called a rock golem. Alright, we're going to have a rock golem follow us around because they're pretty overpowered too, so why not? There's new rats in here, we'll see those eventually, but first we're going to go up and find the Lunamix. And, wow, there's two rats over here, so we need to take those guys both out first. And our rock golem, of course, has like 3,000 hit points or more. No, only 1,700. Okay, our rock golem has apparently been reduced to our difficulty now that we resummoned him. There's a new discharged Lunamech model. This is another new thing in the engine, and we find that this Lunamech is completely out of power, and his partner is missing, and the sun shield seems to be down. And what is going on here? Our mana seal appears to be completely out of commission. And of course we've also got this sort of like cool, ominous sound happening in this level as well. This is another new sound included in the engine. And we just need to kill that rat. And then we found another discharged Lunamech that's collapsed on the ground. And we can head over to the final tower here and look for the last Lunamech. I can actually ride the dragon around here if I want, but the dragon's so big, it's actually kind of hard to maneuver him on these levels. It's actually way easier if you're just like wandering around on your feet, and especially with the hunter, since the hunter can basically run so fast anyway. He's almost like he's mounted. We find another Lunamech here, and its partner is also missing, so several of the Lunamechs are missing, and the entire shield apparatus appears to have been shut down. This rat is, of course, one of the new rats. You know, his animations are pretty basic, but they work, and he kind of looks more like a teddy bear than a rat, but we needed some rats in the engine, and they're free, and you can use it in commercial projects, so why not, right? And finally we get to the sun focus, and we find that the mirrors are down, and all the mana is missing from the mana seal pool, and we should go search for the remaining Lunamechs. So we're just going to do that. We're going to hop on our dragon to make this a little quicker, and we're just going to wander around and look at our mini-map and try to look for a door here. There we go. There's a door, so that means that our dungeon is down here. We're going to head down into the basement here, and we'll see these cool underground sort of cave here with the sand coming in. And we can just take out this rat here, or our golem will take it out for us. And we've got these yellow crystals. These are also new, included in the engine. We've got a couple different types like red, yellow, and blue. And we find another discharged lunamech, and this lunamech has battle scars, so we should go investigate this ancient underground door that seems to lead to this underground temple. And coming into the underground temple, we hear some new music. This is part of the new music included in the engine. Awesome song. And we're going to see a new feature in here, and that is in-level cutscenes. So as soon as we click that button, we get taken to a cutscene that zooms us to a camera showing something that just happened in another part of the level. This level is also a completely customized level. Once again, it's using the Labyrinth building kit. Don't mind the lighting in here. I'm just having some issues with the lighting. So we can see a new ancient spider in here, and our ancient spider is running away across the level, probably due to the fact that our pet has somehow followed us in here. The pet system is still a little primitive, so there's still some work to be done on it. Sometimes your pets follow you between zones, sometimes they don't. And we can of course see the arrow hitting the mob and doing this nice arrow attack as well. And we've got some new gear, so let's go ahead and stick the new gear on and start learning those new recipes. And then we can pick up these ancient herbs. These ancient herbs are sort of a new feature as well. You can chew on these. You can see the ancient herb appear in your hand, and if you chew on it for like a couple seconds, then it's going to make this poison go away. Let's go ahead and just summon Roosty. Roosty, we dismiss him and call him. There's a bug where the pets aren't properly being counted as dismissed, but that's okay. Just click dismiss and call and they'll come back. And now we can just let Roosty basically take this guy out for us and set him on fire. And of course that burning effect is also a new feature in the engine. And we're just going to let Roosty take out all these spiders for us as well. And we got a new ability called Essence of Venom Arrow. So now we can put a light dot and a venom dot. And because we pressed that button before, we can actually just run straight across. We don't have to go fight those guys, and we can click this button that'll get us to the final bridge. You can see Roosty is following us across these bridges. This is actually using a nav mesh surface, because by default nav meshes can't be baked on objects that are movable. We can click on this switch over here and then raise this bridge, and then Roosty will follow us into the other room, where we can put a venom and a light buff or debuff, and Roosty will set him on fire, and then it's going to be a pretty short work of him. We've got some ancient leather pants here we can equip, and ancient leather shoulders we can equip as well. Looking good so far. Over here, we're going to find some more switches, and these switches are pretty new. They've only been in the engine for about 6 weeks, and what happens is there's a door over here basically, and that door has to have both switches activated to trigger it. So we're going to go push this rock over onto this plate over here. We're going to push this other rock onto this other plate over here, and when we do that, it's going to open a door for us and just trigger a little cutscene to show us the door's opening, just in case, you know, our back was turned or whatever. We just got more ancient herbs. We can go ahead and harvest those if we want to as well. And why don't we just set Roosty off on this spider. Roosty's just a great guy. He'll go ahead and take out all these guys for us. He's so powerful. Wow, Roosty almost died. That shows you how powerful the mobs in this dungeon are. Alright, Roosty, you can do it. See, Roosty's an NPC though, so he has an advantage where he's just going to get his health reset. You can kind of see these blocks over here. We've got to put the right blocks on the right switches here because this block over here wants a 50 kilogram switch on it and the other block wants a 25 kilogram switch. And so to trick you, the wrong blocks are not close to where they should go. If you just stick a 25 kilogram block on the 50 kilogram switch, it won't be heavy enough to open the door. So you'll have to play around for a bit and then find the right combination of switches, and then eventually you can open that door and we can finally go fight the final boss of this game. Well, I mean of this chapter of the game anyway. We'll let Roosty take him out here. We can see all sorts of new stuff in here, like these new rock textures, and we don't have a good mummy yet, so instead we are just using the Uma painted white as a mummy. We got some ancient leather armor here. Let's put that on. And we can see some really cool new stuff happening over here. We've got a hostile Lunamech, which is a custom enemy, and our hostile Lunamech has a neat symbol on his hand. We can also see the new Mana Seal controls that this guy just completely blowed up, and we can also see the destructible terrain over here. Now, Roosty, our good friend, like any faithful pet, is going to wander over and he's going to try to kill the boss here. He's not going to succeed though. We can hear some new epic battle music here. This is new in the engine. And we can see some new mechanics here. Basically, this boss has a line of sight mechanic. So what's going to happen is he's always going to try to run around and get line of sight on you. And he's going to be casting an explosion on the ground. And that explosion has an AoE knockback. So if I get hit by it, it's going to knock me back like across the level here. And do a significant amount of damage as well. So this boss, if you notice that if we try to attack him, let's just shoot at him. You'll see he's actually immune to like everything, completely to all damage here. In fact, Roosty's doing no damage to him. But his health is dropping, and the reason that his health is dropping is because he uses solar energy as a resource. I think I have a pet here somewhere. There's like a bug. There we go. Apparently I had a pet, and oh boy, I'm almost dead. I need to run away from those explosions and heal myself up, and maybe now it's a really good time to drink one of these potions. And you can actually see the potion, and you can see it in my hand, and you can actually see the bottle become empty as we drink it as well. And actually, you know what's really funny about this boss over here? This explosion the boss does, it's actually aggroed the spider in the dungeon as well. This boss is not the same faction as the spider, and so the spider is now going to attack the boss. So basically what this fight is all about is waiting for the boss to try to do that cast and then try to dodge it. I obviously wasn't quick enough there. And every time that he casts this spell, he's going to lose 5% of his health, because basically his health is his battery. At some point, he's going to get down to 0 health, and he's just going to die and run out of energy and collapse on the ground right about now. Boom, yeah, okay, now let's take out this spider here and go take a look at the boss, because the boss has something neat. Alright, we're going to keep on attacking this spider till it's dead. Okay, cool, and spider is dead. And if we look at the chest of this guy, he has the same white hand logo as we saw in the other zone on one of those nights. So let's go over to the Mana Seal controls, and they've been completely destroyed, and that's rather unfortunate. And all the Lunamechs are destroyed, which is even more unfortunate. The mana seal's empty and all the contained mana is missing, which is definitely not a good sign, and all of the Light Guard Knights are dead. It appears that there is no good news here. However, 2 of these guys had a white hand on their chest, and that appears to be some sort of clue. So let's go report back to High Priestess Luminessa and tell her about the worst day ever. Coming back to the Soul Forge, you can see that we've now got quite a collection of crystals up top there. We've got 4 blue crystals showing up, and the blue crystals are all for the regular sort of like outdoor levels. We can now travel to the Mana Seal, Sun Temple, Birch Grove, and Light Free Outpost, because those all unlocked along the way. And then we also have these dungeon crystals for Crystal Mine, the Arena of Trials, and the Temple of Ancient Energy, and those all unlocked automatically as we traveled to those zones as well. We want to go back to the Sun Temple because that's where the priestess is, and we can tell her all about what transpired over at the Mana Seal. And we will complete the quest, and we see our star explosion, and we get an achievement for Bad News Bearer, complete chapter 2 of the main story quest. So that concludes our adventure. We have now finished chapter 2 of the Lost Soul demo, and the Lost Soul is a game being created with the AnyRPG engine in order to ensure that the AnyRPG engine is advanced enough that you can build a complete game with it. So I definitely hope you'll agree after watching this video that you very much can build a complete, if not small and simple game with the engine so far. In the future, I'll be adding support for addressables and Unity asset bundles in order to extend the amount of content you can have in your game without bumping into that 4 gig limit if you're still using earlier versions of Unity than Unity 2020. Now, let's go ahead and have a look at the credits, because there are a ton of public domain resources in here. Just a reminder before we start with the credits that you can download any RPG from AnyRPG.org/downloads, and it includes every spell effect, every prefab, every character, every single thing that you saw in the video today. So this engine was created using code that was custom designed by myself, and includes all of the following public domain assets from BlendSwap and OpenGameArt. We have the Medieval Tools Pack from System G6. We have these awesome potion bottles, which were also converted into the ink bottles for the writing set from Owlish Media. The zombie animations come from this male city zombie from Rekindle 3D. We have this awesome medieval weapon set, which is the swords and such that you saw the paladin using, and some of the skeletons. Here's the cauldron from Jeremy Woods that we saw inside of all the houses. Here's a confetti effect. We didn't see that. It's in the game, but just not active. My character never died, so technically you never got to see this really cool skull death effect from Jellyfish. or this poof effect from jellyfish as well. But we did get to see this awesome heart achievement effect as part of our pet capture from jellyfish. And we got to see this cool jellyfish fireworks effect whenever our character leveled up. And we got to see this star effect from jellyfish whenever our character leveled up as well. We had this awesome song, Odo's River Flows, by Gabriel Carranza, playing in the background of the Sun Temple the entire time. These 2D explosion animations are included in the engine, although we didn't see these particular ones. Within the abandoned castle was some music that was playing. This shell bug comes from BRN 518 and also public domain included in the engine. This awesome set of weapons, which we didn't really get too much of a chance to see by Drummyfish and Sethiel, is also included in the engine. One of these models, I think this one right here on the right hand side was actually used for the soul sword that we saw for the Guardian of Souls. This skeleton here, we were not using the character model in the engine, but all of the weapon animations for the swords and stuff were coming from him as well. The basic melee weapons we started the game with when we pulled them off the table come from TDM Interactive, and they come from this melee weapon set here. The skull and the staff comes from CD Mir, that was for the bone staff, and the bookshelves in the Sun Temple come from this bookshelf, Shadowfane. It's been retextured. The rats came from BRN 518. These were the rats we saw in the Sun Temple. Desert Calmness was one of the desert loops. It was, I think, the desert loop for the Sun Temple zone or the Sun Temple cutscene. The rock texture, whenever we see rocks on the ground, comes from this rubber duck, mossy rock environment pack. The spiders in the Temple of Ancient Energy came from BRN 518. The Unsolved Investigation was one of the background music that I think was in Light Fury Outpost. These hit effect animations were the ones that the rock golem was using. Battle Theme B was one of the battle songs that we fought with the bosses. This boat from Mike Ask was the boats that we saw in the Birch Grove Mouse Base. This medieval table from Catalin Pavel was the table, the workbench is basically in like all of the different guilds and stuff. Then this awesome blood effect from Synesthesia was the blood whenever we took damage from some sort of claw or sword attack. Defecate Rainbows made this hat here, and this is actually the feather model that I used along with a public domain feather texture in order to make that cool feather pin for the custom writing set. This hit effect here from Synesthesia was used for the rock golems. This cartoon knight from Lucien Pavel was used for the knights in the base, both the Birch Grove base and the Light Fury outpost base. These benches right here from CG Ruslan were used in the Sun Temple, in the room, the main room with the priestess here, and this low poly medieval table from CRG Ruslan was used for some of the crafting tables. This corn was used for the corn plants from DJ Said J. This coin effect here from Synesthesia was used for the stun effect. These explosions from Synesthesia were used for some of the explosions, I think, from the final boss, or we may not have seen some of these in here as well. This medieval castle kit from Colorado Stark was what we were using for the walls and for the posts in the cemetery. We didn't get to see this sign from Overactions, but it's in here in the engine as well. This Labyrinth kit by Deadkier is what we used for basically like half of the levels in the game. It's used for the Temple of Ancient Energy, as well as like the Soul Forge and the Arena of Trials. This ominous song from Poinal was used for one of the zones, I think Light Fury Outpost. This table and chair by Lucien Pavel was used in all the houses. This campfire from Tiny Worlds is that fire that's used underneath, like inside all the chimneys and underneath all the cauldrons. This boss battle music from Subspace Audio was used for the bosses. These plants from Geeky Gnome were used for the marsh reed, as well as the base for the corn plants. Continuing on, there's a lot of credits because there's so much content in this release that's all included in the engine. This model from CD Mirror right here, this is who we used for the innkeeper and the bartender. This low poly tree here was the one I retextured and made into a birch tree. And these survival shelters by J21 were retextured and used as the shelters in the mouse base. The signs are also included in the engine. They're modular and you can pop any part of the sign off you want, although we didn't get to see those in today's demo. This old lady by CD Mirror was used for the seamstress. This shield right here, we didn't really get to see this, but it does drop off of the skeleton and it's used for the bone claws. This fire right here, the dragon and the rooster both breathed. It's from Soluna Software. Soluna Software also created this casting circle that we see for most of the spells. Rubber Duck created the plant pack that we see with the flax and the all the other plants that we saw in the Birch Grove level, and CD Mirror uploaded this awesome rabbit, which we used for our cute fluffy bunny, angry reanimated bunny, etc. CD Mirror also uploaded these deers, and these are from the wonderful world of Kelgar. This blood spatter effect from Overcrafted is used in the engine, although we didn't get to see it in the episode today. This monk here, you know what? Why don't we go look at this monk right now? I forgot to demo the monk because I totally skipped one part of the base. And this monk is so cool, I think that he is worth watching. So we're going to go and take a look at the Alchemy Guild. So let's just load up Nocturus again. And we'll go down to the Alchemy Guild at the bottom of the Sun Temple, and we'll go see this monk because I love this monk. I was looking for like a monk in a robe for the longest time, and CD Mirror saved my life by uploading the monk from Kelgar. Otherwise, I would just have another guy in an Uma robe, and we have many guys in Uma robes in the game already, so it's nice to have a little variety, you know? That song you can hear right now is that Odo's River Flows by Gabriel Carranza. Alright, so here we can see we've got the Alchemy Guild, and inside we have a monk, and this monk is awesome. He's kind of got these like hollow, like demonish eyes, but I think that's just the way that I configured him. We can also head upstairs here. It's a multi-level building, and we can see an alchemy workbench where we can do alchemy. We see some potions there as well. So that's the monk, and the monk is very cool. Okay, let's carry on. What else? We got this grass patch right here. This is all the moving grass that we saw in the Sun Temple and basically the Birch Grove zone. And then these are the goblins from CD Mirror. Also from the, we saw those guys in Birch Grove as well. This grass patch is by Alex WBC. And then the bartender, I think we already saw that one. What else do we got here? We have so much more stuff. We have these teleporter effects from Rubber Duck. We saw those anytime our character teleported. This sparkling fireball from Rubber Duck, we didn't see that. It's in the engine though. The Mud Eater from CD Mirror. This is awesome. This Mud Eater was used for all the peasants. This fish from CD Mirror was used for the animated fish that we fished up in both of those fishing ponds. This forest monster had his forest removed and was turned into the rock monsters and the rock golems in the crystal mine. And this undead squirrel from CD Mirror was the Light Fury outpost squirrel. This mannequin male from Plaggy was the one we retextured and recolored and used as the training dummies. And Roosty the Rooster from CD Mirror, our fire-breathing rooster. YD created this food pack with the bread, the cheese, and the edible sausages, which is completely awesome. CD Mirror also created this chicken, and Pixel Manon created that ATM that we used to summon the monster in the Arena of Trials. YD created the awesome book set that we got to see hanging out on the bookshelves inside of the Sun Temple, and Navat created the watermelons that we stole from the farmers. Kalanu created this lightning that we were using to zap monsters and drain their life, and James White created this awesome bridge that I forgot to put the collider on. Rubber Duck created these awesome trees and mushrooms, and all these things have LOD on them. So thank you, Rubber Duck, for an awesome set with LOD. YD created this archery set. We saw the archery target for Danica Light Quiver, and I think this might even be animated. I'm not sure. YD also created this dungeon ambience, which we saw in the Temple of Ancient Energy. Daniel Anderson created this set, which includes the grate, which we're using for the bank windows. Daniel Anderson created this awesome sun temple, which I added an interior to because it didn't used to have an interior. Daniel Anderson created this awesome set of crates and stuff. I did a bunch of work on them to fix up the normals and fix up the pivots because those were a little wonky. He also created the medieval smithy set, as well as that cool watermill that I completely forgot to put a collider on as well. He created this blacksmith. I did the interiors for the blacksmith. It took me a couple days because this blacksmith used to have one-way normals and there was no details on the interior. He also created this awesome inn. Once again, I did the full interior for that. The inn used to have no interior. It took a couple days, and I'm actually really happy because it was like my second Blender project ever. He created, Daniel Anderson, this awesome well, as well as this prop set that you saw, like the fish and the like the leather tanning stand from. And then this one, which had the towers, which were in Light Fury Outpost, and then the barrels that we saw in the farmers' yards. Daniel Anderson also created these bags, and this is the bunny food that we stole. And he created this awesome medieval house kit. And I've added more stairs. I added the stone stairs to this, basically the same model, just retextured and made a lot wider. And those were the stairs in the Sun Temple. And I also took these houses which had no interiors and were not previously modular, and then modularized them by adding the interiors, the stairs, the floors, and everything else. The original models for that I started with, though, came from this pack right here. And this is the Space Skybox from Kurt K84, and that's the skybox that we saw when it turned to nighttime in the Mana Seal cutscene. The stump we saw hanging out in the graveyard, as well as the War of the Magi cutscene in that sort of desolate area here by Eugene Loza. And Eugene Loza also created this cage, which I retextured to make it look more metal, and that was the cage Piggly Wiggly was held in. The 3TD Harbor Pack uploaded by Ron Capoon. That's where this dock came from. More explosions. I don't think we actually saw these ones in the game, but they're in the engine provided by Grawl98. And this awesome mine pack by Rubber Duck was the mine pack that includes all of these prefabs. It's just totally incredible, and that's what I made the crystal mine out of. Basically, made a custom mine shape for it in Blender and then just filled it with these prefabs. These special effects from Rubber Duck, I don't think we saw any of these, but they're in the engine. The crystals from Rubber Duck we saw all over the place. These crystals were the ones that were used for all of the mining nodes, as well as those teleport crystals. Tiny Speck created this, which is the starburst effect that we're using whenever a character has loot that can be collected, and YD created these staffs, and I did a whole pile of recolors of them for basically every color, so the red, the violet, and all that other different variations you saw. YD also created these scrolls. I did a bunch of work on them in Blender to make the normals show up properly because they were one-sided, and those are used for basically the scrolls on the bookshelves in the Sun Temple, as well as the props for alchemy. Para created these spell effects, and I think I am using one of these smoke things possibly for the Dragonfire. You'll definitely see more of these in the engine in the future. They're all in there, just not necessarily all in use. Similarly, Para created these animated particles, which are in the engine, but just weren't demonstrated in the demo today. Cynic Music created this battle theme, which we used for one of the boss fights. Atzi created these trees, and I think these were the aspen trees that we saw all over the Sun Temple. Rubber Duck created this awesome texture pack, which includes this really cool sand texture that we used in all of our desert levels. And Cynic Music created this Crystal Cave song that we saw today as well. We have 2 more browsers full of credits to go. So many credits in this engine, so many amazing public domain resources by so many amazing people that I wouldn't have been able to do this without. This smoke aura was used for the thundercloud effect. It's by Beast. This fire effect, that's the fire that went under your character's feet whenever he got set on fire. It's also the fire used in the fire pits underneath the cauldrons. It's by Mycodrak. And there's some awesome effects in here, like this little lightning ball that we saw used for the Guardian of Souls and the Soul Sword, and I think we saw the spider casting this one right here. These are also by Mycodrak. YD provided this War on Water pack, which is used for the introductory theme when you're staring at the main menu. This is another version of the Space Skybox. I think it's the same one as Kurt K84, and I don't know who was the original person, so we're listing both of them. This desert theme was used when Foxy was conducting the suntans. It's by YD. And these merchant tents also by YD, and I retextured them a little bit and fixed up the normals somewhat, UV mapped them. This fence by Scribe, I downscaled it, made it a little lower poly using Blender's Decimate and retextured it to make it look more rusty for the cemetery. This tomb was used for the cemetery by Zerberos, and I basically retextured. Actually, it didn't have a texture. I added a texture in Blender and removed the cross. And then this cemetery kit by Savino. Also, I think I took the cross off here and added textures to these and fixed the normals on them as well. Field of Dreams by Polly W was used in there at some point. Can't remember if we used it in the demo or not. This awesome bookcase by Cubotup. I don't know if we actually saw this in the demo today, but it's definitely in the engine. This fence by Weapon Guy, we saw this. This bed by Clint Bellinger. I basically fixed up the normals on this, retextured it, and then added views from all sides because it was basically invisible from other sides before. This wooden chair by Galoon is included in some of the crafting tables, the more fancier ones, I think. And we didn't really see this, but this Golgotha effect texture by crack.com is used for one of the spell casting icons. And our final list of credits comes from Blend Swap, the low poly fantasy game pack here. I basically retextured this chest. It's the treasure chest that's used in the bank, and I retextured this table. It's the table used in the inn and everywhere else. This awesome fountain was the one I textured and added watered to, as well as reduced the poly count on it so it could be performant in the engine, and that's used for the Fountain of Time and the fountain outside the Sun Temple. This one is in the engine, but it just wasn't demonstrated today, and this has also been retextured. It's had water added. This is like a rope texture and metal. It's awesome base once you add the textures to it. And this tree trunk was used, you can't see the whole thing in the picture here, but it was used for the cemetery stumps, as well as the stumps in the War of the Magi cutscene. The low poly foliage pack here was used for basically all of the trees. You can see the maple trees, the oak trees, and the pine trees here, and those were used in various levels. The tooth and spike collection, we didn't see it in the video today, but it is used for the bone claws in the engine here. This goblin by X Ghostart X7 was used for the goblin necromancer. Sazerac created the ogre creature that I fixed the rig on, did some weight painting fixes, reduced the poly count, and used him for the Earthborn Troll. This Saxon warrior right here from Roachburn was the warrior trainer that we saw. This Pigaroo by Banusai, I removed basically all of the green hair and all of the different accessories from him and use those as the pigs that we stole from the goblin camp. This Jar of Leeches by Cannonfish, that's the candle that I retextured to make rusty and then added the animated flame to. This candle and stand was another one I retextured to use a shared candle texture and the rusty base, and then added a flame to that. These candles by TD Ledbetter, they're all the same basically, so I used one of those, retextured it, made it rusty, and then added the flame. And these ninja claws by Big Ditch are the ninja claws that were included in the engine as well. Similarly, this stone structure is the stone structure that was included in the Soul Forge, and it's sort of been shrunk down, made a little thinner, and used as the teleporter temples as well as the Body Matic 2000 by Cellrack here. Finally, the wooden hut. This was the hut I retextured with textures that look almost exactly the same, but were already included in the engine by Oliver MH, and we use this for the Light Fury outpost as well as the fishing hut. The female archer from Scouting Ninja is used for Danica Light Quiver currently, and temporarily for Sunlit until we find Sunlit a better character model. And finally, the Skeleton Slayer and Skeleton Warrior are using the skeleton model from Scouting Ninja's Dungeon Pack. Okay, that was a ton of credits, and it is not really any surprise because this release contained over 1,600 prefabs and spell effects. I really hope you enjoyed that. I had a lot of fun playing through that, and this release is going to be really easy to use because of how complete it is. So, have fun, download AnyRPG from AnyRPG.org/downloads, and go ahead and enjoy a game, create characters, create character classes, play any of them you want, make your own games. Everything you saw today can be made with the engine and played right out of the box. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I would just like to thank everybody who put out those awesome public domain resources, because without public domain resources, I would not have been able to create the AnyRPG engine. Because we need this engine to be distributable, and that means that everything has to be public domain. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoy the engine. If you do, then hop on Discord and come and say hi. AnyRPG has a Discord server. If you want to contribute to the engine, then you can do that there. And AnyRPG also has a Patreon. So if you want to support any RPG engine, and you don't have great 3D modeling skills or assets, you can always log on to Patreon at patreon.com/AnyRPG and support AnyRPG with donations as well. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.